Nixon administration putting together the National Sickle Cell Control Act. That was where the federal government started to do sickle cell research. That was 1972. That was not that long ago. Okay? The National Institutes of Health funds research, and they funded originally 23 centers, and as you see with federal budgets, they're constantly shrinking and they're trying to cut money here and there. It went to 10 centers. And then about 10 years ago, the NIH decided that those 10 centers were spending too much money on treating patients. Okay? So they dismantled the 10 centers, and sickle cell research is kind of petered on, but not very well. What's distressing to me is if we came up with a cure tomorrow, we couldn't even implement it because we don't have physicians. I'm actually a pediatrician by training. I've never been in a pediatric department. I've only taken care of adults. And it's because they couldn't find any other hematologist to take care of adult patients. And I stepped into that role. So I'm proud of that. But I look at, in the District of Columbia, only 16% of adult patients with sickle cell anemia are on hydroxyurea. That's the effective therapy that we have today, and it's 16%. That means if we had a cure tomorrow, we wouldn't even be able to dole it out because we don't have the doctors to do it. So events like this are very important. We need to coalesce as groups of concerned individuals and really lobby our elected officials for research. And if we can't cure sickle cell disease, it's a single mutation in its simplest form. It gets more complex, but that's for people like me to worry about. But if we can't cure this disease, we're wasting our time with every other genetic disease. This is the simplest. This was the first molecular disease. So we need to lobby our elected officials for a cure, and this should be the poster child for curative therapy. And we need to lobby them for better clinical care. I know if you can come to our clinic, we can treat you well and keep most of you out of the hospital. And when you're in the hospital, that's not a shortcoming on the patient's part, it's the disease speaking. It took me a long time to get to that point. People with worse disease spend more time in the hospital. We spend incredible amounts of money in the District of Columbia. The Medicaid program spends $71 million a year just on hospitalization, most of it on hospitalizations, not on outpatient care. And my attitude towards the Department of Health, I said, give me $1 million and I can go a long way with that and save you hopefully tens of millions of dollars keeping people out of the hospital. So again, this is a very important event, and I'm humbled to be always asked by patients to come and speak at events like this. And great job, keep up the fight. And together, I think, again, we need to keep pressure on our elected officials and even start raising money towards funding either clinical care or research that will lead to curative therapy. So thank you very much, and thank you, Shanetta, for inviting me.
Thank you.